Breaking news today. Is Putin's fate predetermined if Russia loses in Ukraine? When the Russian Empire was defeated in World War I, the Tsarist government fell. What would happen to Vladimir Putin's neo-Tsarist regime if they were to lose in Ukraine? When the Russian Empire was defeated in World War I, the Tsarist government fell. What would happen to Vladimir Putin's neo-Tsarist regime if they were to lose in Ukraine? As casualties piled up during World War I, the Russian armed forces mutinied. Numerous Russians have been killed. An unverified report claimed 362,387 Russians had been killed or wounded since the invasion began on February 22, 2022. The report was posted to social media by an alleged general of Russia's external intelligence agency, the SVR. He stated that the death toll among Russian servicemen was 76,192. Ukrainian and Western analysts questioned Putin's grip on Russia after the Wagner mutiny in July, which was led by the late Yevgeny Prigozhin, showed discontent in the ranks of pro-regime forces. The Wagner uprising exposed the empty rhetoric coming from the Kremlin. Putin's hollowness has been exposed to the world at large. The proverbial emperor is naked. He has zero sway over events in Russia and zero support from the people there. Even though regular Russians are still reluctant to speak out against Putin, Wagner's rise to prominence was met with widespread approval. While this was going on, nobody showed any interest in defending the Putin regime. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, told the Atlantic Council. According to the Atlantic Council, the public shouldn't put too much stock in these kinds of assessments because they rely on Ukrainian intelligence. Putin uses violence to stay in power. It's simple to just talk positively and label any criticism as Russian propaganda. Without a doubt, Putin is the most ruthless leader Russia has had since Joseph Stalin. Using his training as a KGB intelligence officer, he brutally eliminated his enemies, including Alexander Litvinenko via polonium T, Sergei and Yulia Skripal via the Novichok nerve agent, and possibly Prigozhin and Wagner founder Dmitry Utkin via a plane explosion. He rules with an iron fist, intimidating his subordinates into silence for fear of becoming the next Bond villain's latest victim. Putin's rule in Russia is supported by the Russian Security State and the Federal Security Bureau, FSB. These are the same people who helped put Putin in power over 2 decades ago. He's the head of the family, in a sense. Putin seems to epitomize Stalin's alleged statement that one death was a tragedy while 1 million deaths was a statistic. Estimates vary, but many people think that whoever succeeds Putin could be just as ruthless. The intelligence apparatus, first Soviet and then Russian, is at the very center of the country and is the sole institution that did not crumble with the fall of the Soviet Union. Some might be tempted to think that Russia would throw off its dictatorial shackles, normalize its relations with the West, and make progress on the road to democracy if Putin were killed or otherwise removed from power, such as in a palace coup. Such an approach is flawed. History suggests there are slim prospects of Russia doing so. Calder Walton, a historian at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, wrote in a June column for Time. Powerful security and intelligence agencies are the best guarantee that Russia will not adopt democratic reforms. The KGB and its successors have always played a decisive role in coups, near coups, reforms, and revolutions throughout Soviet and post-Soviet history. Walton elaborated, saying, their power has remained consistent through the many changes in Kremlin leadership. There's not much cause to think they won't do it again. Intel graduates make up 77% of Russia's civil servants. In his opinion, Russia is little more than an intelligence agency with a state attached to it. According to one 2019 estimate, the security services constituted 77% of Putin's government. The overwhelming majority of technocrats in his government claims a former CIA station chief in Moscow. Not even Putin is the most hardline of them, Walton argued. Putin's potential successor would likely come from the same background if the Russian security state turned against him. By sowing discord in Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, the Chekists ensured their survival. Now they want to make sure their power isn't threatened even if the invasion of Ukraine fails.